Now we go to Imo State, where a rising correspondent Oba Adele is standing by to give us situation report from Owerri North. Oba, tell us what is happening where you are.
I am at Owerri North local government area, just like you rightly noted, and this particular place is called Ozara-Igbelu area in Owerri North local government. You can see people are standing under the sun to cast their votes, and but generally across town we've been to a number of local governments. Today, before coming here, we realized that there's a poor turnout of voters across the state. We don't know why this is so. I left a place, another local government, not too far from here, moment ago, where we had two polling units just like we are having here. And in just one of the polling units, you have about 10 voters queuing up to cast their vote, while the second polling unit had nobody at all, no voter at all to cast their vote in that polling unit. So the turnout has been so discouraging across town this morning, but if you look at the comportment of security agencies and electoral officers, you want to commend them for comporting themselves in line with the electoral stipulations, the Electoral Act stipulations. They've carried themselves commendably well, but the turnout of voters is the only snag in this particular election. Another thing that I've observed is that in some polling unit, I saw some polling agent, giving out cash inducement to voters, particularly in Central School in Tietie. That's what they call the place, Tietie, in Itubam local government area of the state. I saw for myself some polling agent, giving out cash inducement to voters to sway them, in favor of their political party. We've also had reports in other places, but I've not been able to independently confirm in those places. But I can confirm in that particular place I just mentioned that polling agents are giving out cash inducement to voters to influence their decision in this process. Where I'm standing right now is where the PRP, that's the People Redemption Party candidate, cast his votes moments ago and is right here to speak with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So tell us your name.
My name is Tony Mba.
And you are
I'm the PRP governorship candidate.
So tell us, what are your impressions of this process so far?
Well, it is sad, I must say, because you don't buy votes and you don't sell votes. And that is occurring. And the government in power has been doing this and continues to do it, and the authorities knows that should bring an end to the election. You don't buy votes. They have impoverished the people to the extent that people are so poor, when they offer them anything, they buy. And that people are not thinking about the future. They paid 3,000 4 years ago. 4 years they will come back and get 3,000. But between that time, people like me, they will be asking us, help me, help me. But when election comes, they sell it for 3,000. It's wrong.
Are you saying that in this polling unit, we have instances of political party agents also buying votes?
Yes, the ruling party is selling votes here. It's just that simple. Yes.
What's the name of this polling unit?
This is Azrebelu Ward 2, or Emekuku Ward 2.
So what have you done? What has your party done about this? Have you informed security agents about this? What have you done particularly?
Well, in Nigeria, they say go to court, right? And you know what the court does. So we see it, and people have observed it. You can talk to people here. Evil will have its turn, but good will eventually come.
So are you expecting any credible election at the end of today?
No.
Okay.
Not in Nigeria, not yet, right. Not this time.
Thank you so very
much. We thank INEC for trying.
All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I just spoke with the PRP candidate in this election, and you can hear what he said. He's worried about the credibility of the poll, especially by the allegation of widespread voters inducement in the state. But the election is still ongoing, and we are still, roving the state to, see what is happening. But I can tell you, like I said earlier, that there's a poor turnout of voters. But let's see how this impacts on the overall outcome of the process at the end of the day.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you, Oba Adeoye, our senior correspondent there in Owerri, observing election proceedings. Now, Comrade Mark Adebayo is the spokesperson of a coalition of united political parties, and he joins us now in the studio for analysis. Comrade, I want to say thank you very much, and situation reports from Owerri there. More importantly, or more worrying, were the statements being made by the PRP candidate, governorship candidate in Imo State, where he says he doesn't believe in the electoral process in Nigeria. He says INEC are doing their bit, but he does not believe in the entire electoral process and the subsequent judicial process that succeeds the electoral process. What do you make of that particular kind of statement?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I will not condemn wholesale the whole processes. Thank God the PRP candidate also said that he appreciates the fact that INEC is trying. And if all of us keep trying, voters, contestants, the EMB, Electoral Management Body, and all the relevant agencies that have one or two things to do with our electoral processes, if all of us continue trying, I think we'll get there. Rome was not built in a day, as they say. But you know, we are long ago, we ought to have criminalized buying and selling of votes. Because at the end of the day, it is a distortion of the electoral processes. It's a distortion of the true pictures of the people's expression of their choice at the polling units. You know, by the time, there's no difference between someone who uses gun to take over government and the person who buys the votes. And to that extent, there must be stiff penalty constitutionally for vote buying and vote selling. Like the PRP candidate said, the people have been so impoverished to the level of that, even 1,000 or 500 naira, they are ready to suffer for another 4 years, to sell their conscience, to sell their votes, and then to go back and begin to suffer under socioeconomic agony. And so when it comes, they are looking, they are thirsty, and they are just looking for a small relief, like a bush, a burning bush, that provides their bird will go into the ocean. Deep is, you know, talks into the water, into the ocean, and come and drop tiny little drop in a burning bush. What would that do? And that is what the level, like Chief Ganifa Emi of Blessed Memory said, people have been so impoverished, so oppressed, so repressed that they will take anything. People are so thirsty that even if you give them a liquid that is poison, they will drink it just to. And that is why we need to move away from this vote buying and vote selling. It diminishes our humanity. It diminishes our democracy. It diminishes our nationhood.
We cannot move away from it. Conscious efforts have to be made to stop it, because politicians will always do, allegedly, what some politicians do.
Yeah, look, let's start doing something about it constitutionally. Let there be an express punishment. You know, let that be, including punishing security agencies that see it happening and doing nothing about it.
And while we're on this, let me bring in Arise analyst Frank Tietie, who's also joining us from our Abuja studio. Great to have you, Frank. And can I get your take on this while we're on this hot topic, recurring issue? We're exhausted with this issue, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, vote buying. And as we heard from personal accounts in Owerri, your take on whether this is a norm that is going to have to just become something we live with during elections in our corner of the world?
Well, it is a norm, and it's as a result of who we are. So let's not run away from it. Until we change, this will continue to be the outcome of our elections. I have always maintained that this is a cultural thing. We approach election with a very terrible mindset, a mindset of a tribe versus tribe, a mindset of a personality against another personality, a mindset of taking power as a means of form of state capture for the purpose of, self-aggrandizement, not for public service, totally contrary to the principles and the fundamental principles and objectives of state policy in the Constitution. It is the way we are. So it is a Nigerian thing. The policeman that compromises a Nigerian, the INEC official that compromises the Nigerian, the politician that buys votes, and then the voter that sells his vote. They are all Nigerians. And so it's who we are. So until we advance from this level of underdevelopment in our mind, now not only in terms of infrastructure, we will not deliver credible elections. It has been our signature since 1964. So why are we pretending as if we're expecting something different? No, so until we come to the realization, whether as politicians, as lawmakers, as citizens, as intellectuals who are actually failing and indeed collectively failing as a people, we will not get anything different. So let's establish that. So we will always enjoy, come together and then begin to bemoan. No, those who should run elections don't run. Those who should correct will not correct. They will wait for the whole process to be dysfunctional, and then they'll come together and start having talking shops. So we keep repeating the same thing all over again. So please, let us establish that so long as we do not improve in our culture, so long as we do not come to terms that democracy, we cannot practice a foreign type democracy until we realize that we must develop a Nigerian homegrown kind of democracy. The attempt Ibrahim Babangida made with Professor Humphrey Wonsu, until we realize that we need to disincentivize politics and begin to realize that whenever we are having to approach election, we need to deal with the issues of violence, we need to deal with the issues of ethnic rivalries, we need to deal with unscrupulous politicians who want to take power to impoverish the people, establish and maintain a status quo of underdevelopment. When we are able to develop our own democracy that eliminates this, until we develop a democracy that eliminates these problems, we will continue this talk shop, and probably we will continue to enjoy it.
You know what? We're going to continue this talk shop, as you call it, so that let's dissect a robust amount of ideas. So let's move away from vote buying. Let's now look at voter apathy. Now, this is something that, of course, we had already predicted was going to be at an all-time high, meaning a low turnout of voters. Looking at the sorry state of, I know it's just one polling unit, but Oba said that it's common in around the polling units he has been to today in Owerri. Low number, some polling units recording 0 people. Of course, it's still early in the day, but earlier you made reference to the fact that this ends up being a distortion of the will of the people when some are unable, for a number of reasons, unable to come in and exercise their civic duty. Now, linking this to the statement by former President Goodluck Jonathan, there was excitement, there was a great momentum around February 25, which has clearly waned to coming to this election. Do you think that the high numbers we're recording in terms of voter apathy are a case for us to harmonize all elections in Nigeria?
There's the issue of voter apathy didn't start yesterday or today. But you see, for Imo, because we have our people in the field all over the place. It's not only where he covered, it's all over Imo. And Imo has been more or less under a lockdown by the activities and the menace of the unknown gunmen. As a matter of fact, I am pleasantly surprised that even up to now, we have not received any report of violence, major violence from Imo State, because people were afraid. Shortly before the election, we had reports from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. People are already moving out of the state. These are supposed to be voters who should stay in their state and be voting, but because of the fear of the activities and the menace of unknown government, is part of what has created voter apathy for Imo State. You will see that from reports from Bayelsa and Kogi, it's not as bad as that of Imo State. But we only hope that it will continue that way, that people will be experiencing peaceful election. There was something that former President Jonathan said about the off-cycle election that I 100% agree with. The thing is that we must end this thing. And the only way to end it is that all litigations with regard to elections must end before anybody is sworn in. You know, you cannot continue having a situation whereby somebody will be in power as governor, as whatever, for 1 year, 2 years, and then you say he didn't win the election, let him go away. He has enjoyed all the perks of office, he has enjoyed all the salaries, he has enjoyed all the allowances, he has enjoyed everything that has to do with power and responsibility of state management for 2 years. Then you say he didn't win the election. In fact, it is an emergency now for the National Assembly to amend our constitution in a deliberate political will to ensure that all litigations that with regard to elections are concluded before anybody is sworn in.
Let's get a situation report as we have one man, Samuel Okpuku, who is the MD of NDDC, standing by, and he's with Ovietebe George in Bayelsa. Ovietebe.
Chief Samuel Okpuku just cast his ballot. Please tell us your experience here, because you came the first time and left.
Well, I think generally the atmosphere has been very, very peaceful. All the voters have conducted themselves peacefully. Only initially we had some technical issues with the beavers, where my unit, the beavers, was not working. But right now it is working, and I've casted my vote. And I know that even across the state too, in most of the areas, the election have been peaceful. And we hope that at the end of the day, my party is going to come out victorious.
Well, that will be decided tomorrow. Okay, just tell us about the security situation. This is a Riverine community in Ogbia Council area, and how peaceful the conduct here generally, apart from the initial glitch.
Well, I'll commend the security agencies because they actually took cognizance of the fact that this area is Riverine and they provided enough security. Even last night when I came in, there were security in most of the communities on ground. There are enough gunboats in the river provided by JTF and the Navy. So I will commend them for doing a good job. I think the atmosphere is very, very peaceful so far.
So in the end, you expect that everything goes well and the people here are not disenfranchised after that initial glitch?
No, well, the people are not disenfranchised because the beavers have started working and you can see them, they are already voting already. I have casted mine. Those who didn't vote earlier, they've started voting, and I know that the INEC officials are also putting in their best by ensuring that every technical issue is being resolved. I want to commend INEC for the approach which they use, because every ward has about 2 rack techs readily available to attend to the technical challenges, just to ensure that everybody casts their ballot. So I really want to commend them. That shows that they were well prepared for this election, since it is an off-season election.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we just had a short interview with the MD CEO of the NDDC, Chief Samuel Okpuku. It's been a hectic time in the community of Ogbia Council area, but does the end justify the means? That is the expectation of the people who have been here since morning. The camera can pan to the people who have been here waiting. They've been waiting in the sun. You can see elderly people also. And of course, the youth who were initially provoked by the beavers, which temporarily didn't work. But now it's working. So the people are returning to their polling units. Once again, this is Ayakoro. It's back to you, Aaron.
But let's cross over to Abuja, where we see have Arise analyst Frank Tietie. And Frank, you've had strong words to say about the whole electoral process. And anytime people talk about the shortcomings of the electoral process, one thing comes to mind. Everyone begins to refer to that particular Uwais report and all the recommendations made by Justice Uwais. But the question I will be throwing out to you: politicians stand to lose the most, some would say, if some of these reforms are actually carried out to the letter. Then where would we get the political will to ensure that we have a very balanced system that favors not the politicians, nor even the electorate, but that favors Nigerians?
You see, we make the mistake of creating a new class called politicians, and as if politics is an exclusive preserve of certain persons. If it is indeed, then it is the exclusive preserve of the group of the worst of persons among us. Meaning that only the persons who don't keep to rules, who don't have the interest of this country at heart, are those we refer to as politicians. And that has been our undoing. That's the reason why those who think that they have anything to offer run away from politics, and then we will continue to have the dregs of the society who think that maybe violence is the only way of solving problems, or the only way of using public power is to amass it for personal use, until we realize that politics is a collective responsibility of every Nigerian citizen. Therefore, the expectation is where many of us, the rest of Nigerians, the larger majority of Nigerians, begin to be aloof and allow, say, a set of persons who have mastered the game who have mastered the use of violence, who have mastered the use of, stealing political power, stealing public resources, using it to also win power continually, ensconcing themselves, that has not created the class you refer to as politicians, who have now constituted themselves as the enemy of the Nigerian project. Now, the idea is this: do we now resort to people power? In fact, they realize that the true sovereignty of this country lies in the people, and that the government ought to operate according to the constitution that the people made. But what have they done? They decided to emasculate the people. They decided to impoverish the people and make them so powerless. So they've become the real god of the Nigerian political system. Please, we cannot afford a disruption of this Nigerian polity. But the Nigerian political class keeps pushing the Nigerian people to the limit. But I must say that the Nigerian people have actually given up. And you talk about voter apathy. That is the outcome of the skillful use of violence. It didn't start a day before the election. It started way long before the election, months and years. I recall the particular campaign of one governor, outgoing governor, his own people, the people of his own state, the people of his own tribe, are the ones who said, look, if you don't vote our man, you can expect a form of an onomatopoeia expression of what happens with a submachine gun. Let me tell you, that is what the Nigerian political class has reduced the Nigerian situation to. Now you talk about political will. See, let us look. We heard Peter Obi, the SY candidate of the Labour Party, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, canvassing for a parliamentary system of government. You know why? There may be some hope there, in the sense that you cannot expect people who don't understand democracy. You cannot expect people who think that the only thing they are in contest for in an election is that my tribe is better than yours. So let's ensure that the man from this tribe wins the election. So they don't care about the issues of development. They don't care about the issues of security. They don't care that this is a state or this is a country that has so much resources, yet the people are wallowing in extreme poverty, in multidimensional poverty.
When you speak, I feel your passion. So I need to just key into one or two things that you are saying.
The best of Nigerians begin to elect our leaders, we will not get anything different from what we are getting now.
On that note,
certainly rest on that.
Right, Frank. On that note, I see, Mark, you've been nodding your head, you've been reacting off camera. Your immediate response to some of Frank's extremely impassioned ideas, do you buy into the ideology that he's putting forward, that, well, at the end of the day, these are self-created, self-inflicted problems?
I agree with his position on the issue of calling some people that constitute the political class. All of us belong to that political class. What we have in Nigeria is actually not a political class. It's a political clique. And I think we should be able to markedly differentiate, disaggregate the definition of political class. There is this assumption that political class means politicians. No, everybody that has anything to do with interrogation of the socio-economic issues of a country belongs in that category. But the political class, probably the patriotic elements of within the country, but we have mostly political clique who have arrogated power to themselves. But I disagree with the wholesale like loss of hope, that is as if the situation is hopeless. No, it's not hopeless. The thing is this, you see, yes, we can have voter apathy now because of the disappointment of the people and because of the violence that I said. My colleague with whom I speak for CUPP almost lost his life this year because of election. Ikenga Imo Igoshishere, who just won his appeal at the appeal court 2 days ago. His house was burned, people were killed inside his house, Fergus were burned, you know. So we have been victims of political violence. And that's why I mentioned the issue of Imo State. And we thank God that till now, because pre-election, it has been sort of predicted that there might be violence, especially in Imo State. Okay. So, but thank God now, I think these are still going on well. And we thank God that even in Kogi and Bayelsa, things are still going without violence up to now. Right. I hope we end it that way.
All right. Giving a very optimistic outlook for the off-season election, but still speaking about the elections, let's cross live to Aitoro, where in Kogi State, where Arise correspondent Mary Chinda is on standby to give us updates on the governorship election. Mary, what is going on there? We heard that Dino Melaye has not been seen. Give us the latest update from that.
Oh, yes, it's less than 2 hours to the close of polling here, and the reality is that the PDP governorship candidate, Senator Dino Melaye, is yet to be seen at this Ilafon Quarters Unit 004, where he is expected to cast his vote. Aside that, there's also a pressing challenge of low voter turnout here. Now, as you can see, just take a look at what's going on here. It's past 12 to 1, and just about 239 persons at this moment have turned out. Now, that is against the backdrop of high expectations of about 819 persons who are expected to be casting their votes here. And that means that actually leaves 580 persons out of it who have not been able to cast their votes at this moment. Amid all of this, a heavy presence, of course, security men, the police, and of course we've had the team lead of the DSS for Kogi West actually turn out here to find out for himself how things are actually going, but there's still that worry of low voter turnout.
Right now, Mary, any indication as to what is holding up PDP's Dino Melaye?
Well, as at this moment, Arise TV has tried to reach out to him, and we've not been able to get a response from him. But of course, the media is still here holding on to see how exactly this turns out.
All right, Mary, you've spoken about low voter turnout, but it seems where a governorship candidate is actually exercising his franchise, we've seen followers, supporters come out in their numbers. We saw that for Ododo in Ida, we saw that for Yaya Bello in Okene. So as it stands right now, it's almost contradictory, because you were saying on one hand that there is voter apathy, but on the other hand, where there is a vested interest, we're seeing people come out in their numbers.
Well, I mean, it should be a little worrisome, because as INEC actually showed up here at the right time, which was about 8 o'clock, and then voting they had actually opened up for voting as at 8:30, but it looks like people are just trickling in. And I must say that most of the people who have actually shown up here are mostly elderly people. You know, the buzz and all that is expected of a polling unit where a governorship candidate should actually be voting is actually very much lacking or missing here. And maybe that should raise some concern. But I mean, we're still optimistic that the PDP governorship candidate would be able to show up here, even though it's less than 2 hours before our next shortest doors.
Right, Mary Chinda reporting live from Ayetoro in Kogi State. Thank you so much for that situation report. And of course, we'll be looking forward to hearing more, including hopefully very soon getting to witness the PDP candidate, as Dino Malaya, also placing his vote. Now, let's bring the conversation back. Let's continue talking about Kogi State. Mary said something quite poignant, which is that the number of people that seem to be coming out at the moment are elderly people. Now, if we look at the registered voters for Kogi State, 39% of those voters are students. 16% are business class, 12% are farmers, 10% are traders. But I actually want to focus on that 39% who are students in a place where she's saying, of course, we're not everywhere at all times, but her experience thus far, you know, with polls closing in the next couple of hours, that she's witnessed more of the elderly coming out. Where is that 39% who are supposed to want to defy the odds, who are supposed to be vibrant, who are the future, that youth vote, that coveted youth vote that everybody sought out for in February? Where are our students?
I think what she's experiencing there, what she has told us, is quite contraindicative of our realities normally in elections. Number one, where a party candidate will vote, there is always, you know, that crowd of people people will vote. In fact, they will have to sort of security will work over time. You can see where they don't vote. You can see where let's say, okay, even if it's a sitting governor, but you can see where those people voted. So you can see they had to persuade people to give way. But look at what we are seeing here. But it's quite contraindicative. What we have been receiving from other areas in the state shows that the youths are actually out voting. People are actually out and voting. You know, what I've gotten from Okene, what I've gotten from Lokoja, what I've gotten from Abaja, all those areas, you know, so many places. Even before I entered the studio, people came out and came early. And in Kogi State, you discover that INEC actually, even when they had the issue of what do you call it now, vehicular, this thing, people volunteer, the people of the state volunteer to help INEC carry their stuffs and the rest. So they started early enough. There's peace in Kogi State, there is progress going. But she has shown, that is what we are getting there. Because you see, there's this political awareness among the Nigerian youth now. There's this political awareness. I only pray that this political awareness will also graduate to patriotism consciousness. These are two different things. So that, like Frank was talking about ethnic profiling, ethnic, dominated elections and the rest of that some people were campaigning for in this election, the past election, even in this election. You understand? So because especially a particular candidate in one of the states, in Kogi State, where everything is about ethnicity. No, you do not. If you are emphasizing ethnicity and religion in our country, then we are not looking for progress. So it's quite unfortunate when you have voter apathy at this level happening, especially where a governorship candidate is supposed to vote. It's not a good signal. And why would someone who is participating in an election will not have voted by now, will not be at the polling unit? Because that also galvanizes the people. Because as a candidate, you galvanize the people, you motivate the people. So if you are contesting an election, yes, nobody knows what happened. We don't know what happened. Why he has not gone there, we cannot judge him on the basis of that. But you can see that even your reporter is surprised and probably worried. That I'm also worried now, because immediately I leave the station, I'm going to have to make some calls. So why is he not there? So we have to know why. The issue of voter apathy, it is more or less a collective responsibility, because if there's no development, if people are not seeing development, if you are not seeing good governance, and if there is violence, if there's security issue, I am so happy the way the IGP has deployed his resources for this election. I am so happy about the way he has deployed his resources for this election. Where people said, oh, there'll be violence, there'll be killing, nothing has happened. And we have seen, contrary to what used to be, that the police and the security agencies, like, I received a summary of what was happening in Kogi State, and I discovered that it's like, even in this voter apathy situation, Kogi State is still leading in the area of people participating in this election. All right,
permit me to just interject at this point so that I direct some questions to Frank in Abuja. Frank, as it stands right now, we've been speaking about the funny development happening in Kogi State, whereby the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Dino Melaye, has been a no-show at his polling unit. What do you make of this? And more importantly, not just even that alone, a lot of people have also questioned the allegations being made by Mukhtar, the SDP, Mukhtar Ajaka of the SDP, but has he claimed that there were electoral malpractices going on in Adavi, Okehi, and Okene local government. Some are saying that he's been clever by half by putting that out so that during the tribunal he will have something to latch onto. What do you make of all this?
A lot of scapegoatism in our elections. So when things are not going well, we pick a scapegoat. Sometimes we pick INEC and put all the blames on INEC, and then on the other occasions we pick the police and we hold them responsible for all sort of failures or mishaps. In this case, considering the personality of Senator Dino Melaye, it's very difficult to fathom what's possibly happening to him. Is it a strategy? Where did he stand in the popularity index before the election? That's an important thing to consider. Then again, would you want to blame the INEC or the police, or blame INEC that the man is not satisfied with the quality of arrangements for the election? That's why he has not showed up. Or would you want to blame the police for not being able to provide adequate security enough for him to show up in Ayetoro, where he actually holds his greatest quantum of popularity? These are questions I cannot readily answer. But when it comes to when a candidate begins to raise allegations about malpractices going on in one section, these are questions of fact. Now, you see, let us not make it a ritual, a useless ritual to have election observers. There are supposed to be election observers accredited by INEC, deployed by INEC, who receive a lot of funding, international funding, to give real-time report for whatever is going on in these hot spots, in these flashpoints, in virtually all the areas where elections are actually taking place. It shouldn't really. I mean, it is political. It is playing to the gallery. If a candidate is saying that one form of malpractice is going on out there against the fact that, would he say that concerning where he is winning or in his base? So I think that we should leave election commentary or election observation to those who have been statutorily saddled with it. And then the purpose is for INEC to be responsive. The good thing, I would not even refer it as a good thing. The bad thing is that when these real-time reports are given to INEC, do we have timely responses from the election management body? There's nothing wrong in reporting that there's a problem. The problem is whether or not there's a response.
We need to go live to Imo State, where our correspondent Charles Ohaku joins us from Emekuku. Charles, great to have you here on Newsday. Can you give us a situation report from Emekuku, Imo State?
Thank you, Vibai. We are right now at a place called Emekuku, like you pointed out. There are two polling units where we are. Emekuku Omako polling units 7 and 8. That's where we are right now. And the backdrop, we can show you how busy things are right now. Quite a large turnout of people, a sizable turnout of people, if you don't mind, my putting it that way. And this is a far cry from what, we've observed this morning. Ever since we've been roving, trying to, cover this election, trying to bring, to our people, to our audiences, how the election has been unfolding in Imo State. Here, you have, people showing more enthusiasm, people showing more zeal, to come in and cast their votes. A couple of minutes ago, I spoke with a former secretary to the state government in Imo State, and I asked him, why he thinks that there's, here there seems to be a bigger turnout than what's happening elsewhere, especially within the Owerri senatorial zone, and he said that most people are out. They've realized that the answer, to the malaise, the problems of Imo State, governance in Imo State is not by staying back in their houses, that it's about coming out to express themselves, to cast their votes, that the power of their votes, with the power of their votes, they can change things and change the direction of governance. And, he spoke so glowingly about, the government in power right now in Imo State, the government of Hope Uzodinma, the incumbent governor of the All Progressives Congress. That's what's happening right now. Here too, you have a number of personalities of former and serving members of the State House of Assembly who are also share this same polling units. Perhaps that's the reason why them and their followers turned out quite in their numbers to cast their votes here. So the material thing is that this is an improvement on what we have seen since morning, ever since we've been living. A few hours ago, we spoke to the candidate of the Labour Party, Senator Athana John. We actually got him casting his vote, and then we had a couple of words with him, afterwards. And that was the last time, we saw something that was a bit similar, to what we have, right here. So I have with me here now, joining me, someone, a member of the House of Assembly, a former member of the House of Assembly. May we know you, sir? Let's get to meet you. What's your name and your destination, sir?
My name is Honorable Philip Ejogu, former member representing Owerri North Imo State House of Assembly.
Okay, good. Have you cast your vote?
No, not yet.
Okay, so you just arrived and you are getting ready to...
I've been around for a while, just monitoring how things are going.
Okay, good. So what's your impression so far?
Well, so far it's been peaceful, not so bad. A little bit of vote buying going on here and there, but it's under control. So far, no chaos. We're just watching how things play out.
Say is responsible for the high turnout, relative high turnout that we've had, voters in this unit, because elsewhere I think there seems to be voter apathy, manifesting elsewhere.
Oh, this ward is Emekuku Ward 1, is under Owerri North State constituency, and this is a ward that has a lot of political gladiators, a whole lot, and this community precisely is highly dense with a lot of politicians. We have former ministers, former SSG, former House of Assembly member, former BOT chairman of various political parties. So it's a highly populated political community. So that's why you have a lot of turnout here.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the issues that have forged the build-up, to the elections, especially in Imo State. We had issues like insecurity, which nobody has denied. I mean, it's always been there. The activities of faceless gunmen, killing people and all of that, and then the government's seeming inability to get control of the situation. Why do you think that this situation has persisted to this point, and why do you think that this has become such a big issue in Imo State?
Honestly, I don't even know how to answer that question, but it's a big problem. But what we can pray for is, let's just hope that after this election, everything ends, hopefully. Maybe from whatever the turnout of the results become, that might help to reduce insecurity or increase the insecurity. But I'm just praying for the best, honestly.
But I mean, if you talk about results from here going forward, what about the last 4 years that the current governor has been in power? How would you appraise his performance in terms of trying to solve this particular primary problem?
Most of the times we hear that this insecurity is politically geared, is politically fueled. This is the Owerri zone, and this insecurity problem is majorly in Olu zone and in Okigwe zone. We don't have much of that problem here in Owerri zone. If this zone was to be much affected by this security problem, I'll probably have a lot of reasons to give and to articulate what exactly the problem is, and probably even interface with this so-called unknown government, whoever they are. I mean, I was in the house when this whole thing started. I would have been able to interface with a couple of them and know exactly what their agitations are. But these days, we really don't know. We see some of this government attacking the government. We see some of them attacking people against the government. So we don't even know. And I mean, there are a lot of rumors that there are different kinds of the unknown government. There's the political one. There's so there's a lot going on, and we really can't.
What about the causative factors? What about youth unemployment, which has been spiking? In Imo, not just in Imo State, but
of course, that is a very big problem. What has
the government? I mean, not just the government of Imo State. I'll wrap up in a moment. Also, governments in other states of the southeast. I mean, why is this such a big problem, despite the the enormous potential abiding in?
So I think that's a problem with governance, generally with the Southeast, and not just Southeast, I think in Nigeria on the whole, because there are a lot of things to do to crop the unemployment rate in Nigeria. There's a lot. There's a lot of, like I even in the House of Assembly, when I was there, I pushed in a bill to bring back the vocational...
I think we've completely run out of time. We're going to have another occasion to speak with you. Thank you for speaking with us here on Horizons. And that's it. I mean, the views here are as varied as they can be. So that's the much we can take, at this moment from Emekuku 7 and 8 polling units. Back to you here in Lagos.
All right, many thanks to you, Charles Ohaku, for your time and for the reportage from Emekuku in Imo State. Now, let's get back to Mark Adebayo. You're still in the studio here with us, and we're watching things unfold as the hour draws closer to the close of voting for today. But quite encouraging from that particular polling unit in Emekuku. Talk to me. What do you make of what is happening? Because we are seeing more people show up at strategic polling units that has interest and have candidates involved in this election as against others, whereby we're seeing mass voter apathy.
You see, like the Yoruba people will say, if the bride on the day of our wedding refuses to open the veil, to reveal her face, it is either a confirmation of too much beauty or ugliness. You understand? When it's time to say open, you say, no, you can't open my face. So if to be participating in the process, I will be the leading force of that area. I wouldn't know look at what you said here. And that is what has happened all over the 3 states, where people who are interested parties in this election, whether in Bayelsa or Kogi or Imo. So what happened at Ayetoro area and the rest of that, like I said, it still baffles me. I wouldn't know why. Do you know it's not known for somebody who's a backbencher when it comes to something, especially where he's interested. The one that he was not even the one participating, that was one contesting. It was at the forefront of the article something. So why?
Mark Adebayo, I know we have so much to say. Unfortunately, our time is running out. So I'd just like to get a very, very quick comment from Frank Tietie in our Abuja studio. I think for me, what stood out from our report from Emekuku was the phrase, no chaos. And when we don't express this as media, we're often accused of always wanting to pursue bad news. Frank Tietie, no chaos. What are your takes on that regarding this particular election today? Very briefly, please. We literally have 1 minute.
Oh, no, we should take it for granted that there should be no chaos. We shouldn't praise anybody that there is no chaos. I mean, why should sane people expect that there will be trouble each time we go to elections? Why should some people, and again, why should we not clap hands for INEC or for the police that the people behave themselves? We should rise above some low standards. The standard is that people should there should be a very encouraging environment for people to cast their votes, and that's all. So we seem to have thrived too much on dysfunctionality, and that's why we are thinking that we should commend anybody because there is no chaos. No, there's no reason for that.
I want to say many thanks to you, Frank Tietie, for your time, and also Mark Adebayo for your analysis here